Action!
You know, our crew is not like your crew.
I can't breathe and I catch my breath.
We don't need PhDs and fancy tech. Sometimes the old ways are better than the new.
Well, you can always trust a guy who puts his face on a t-shirt.
Are those fireworks?
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations on the movie. Before we get into Twisters, though, I want to rewind a little bit because, like everybody, I loved Minari. I was fortunate enough to interview Ya Jung-yun.
You did.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about what the success of that film meant to you now, looking back at it? Like the acclaim, how much love there was for that film from audiences.
That was entirely unexpected. It felt like it was unreal when that was happening. I remember when we were about to premiere it at Sundance, I just hoped that people wouldn't walk out. Like that's kind of where I was with it. And then to see this momentum build with it and people really love it for a very personal story, it really was a dream come true.
And then Twisters, of course, is a very different movie from the sort of films that you've previously made. How much trepidation was there in taking on a film of this scale?
There was a lot of trepidation. I'd say I was quite scared. It was a lot of fear throughout this process, to be honest. It's going from a movie like Minari to something like this. You can't help but wonder, can I pull it off? And that was something that I'd have to fight back, but that was a texture, or that was a theme that I wanted to bring into this movie as well. It's about how do you fight your fears, or what do you do with your fear? So I felt like that was appropriate. And what I found as I was doing this was that there was something very thrilling and enlivening about fear in itself, that it's something to not run away from, but it really is something that it can take you to a new place. And that's what I was hoping to inject into this movie, behind the scenes and also within the story itself.
It's all right to be scared. Fear's the reason you do it. You don't face your fears, you ride them.
Don't face your fears, you ride them.
Exactly.
That's what you did. You wrote it.
That was a line that came as I was thinking about this movie, to be honest, as I was in production on the movie. So that was something that I wrote in very late.
And of course, the other layer of difficulty is following the 1996 original. It's kind of like a cult disaster movie that everybody loved. What did that film mean to you?
That film was, I remember when that came out, that was a big deal for everybody where I grew up, because I grew up in a very rural place in Arkansas, just outside the Oklahoma border. So to see a story set in that region was very important. And we grew up around tornadoes, and I had never seen a story about people who are actually running towards tornadoes rather than away from them into storm cellars. And I watched it with my family, and that was quite a big deal as well. And I was a huge Jan de Bont fan, Speed, and all the movies that he worked as a DP. So that movie was just embodied so much for me that I can't believe I'm working on the next one.
And did you have any scary tornado moments from your childhood growing up in Arkansas?
Yeah, I did. It is something that I put into Minari because as soon as we moved to this farm in Arkansas, we were in a trailer home, which is, it's a home that has wheels and it's kind of set within this property. We moved in, and maybe 2 weeks into this, a tornado was coming into the area, and it was a tornado warning, so we knew that there was an actual tornado on the ground. And my family, we got into my dad's truck, and we just drove somewhere where we thought maybe we'd be safe. It was like this ravine we were going to go down if it came to get to a low place. And anyway, when we watched the first Twister, the first scene just reminded me so much of that, where it's this family at night running from a tornado. That's always something I'm going to remember watching that first film.
And what was the toughest tornado scene in your movie to shoot?
The toughest tornado scene, all of them were so difficult. We really tried to push the limits with each one and to portray them very differently. But I'd say all of them were unique in their own way. And I think progressively as the film moves on, the tornadoes get bigger in scale, and maybe the execution of those were definitely more challenging as we had more characters and more effects and more people getting pulled and things like that.
Tell me about the actual real life storm that destroyed the set in El Reno.
Yeah, El Reno. El Reno's an actual town in Oklahoma, and we had set up this farmer's market that was going to get destroyed by a tornado. And just as we're starting to film, the winds started to pick up, and they ended up becoming very strong winds. And it destroyed the entire set, and then we had to go to lunch. And I remember just thinking in my trailer how ironic it is that it's like the tornadoes are chasing us. That's the way it felt throughout this movie. And we had to come back out. All the crew got together, and we built that set together. And that inspired me a lot to see everybody working so hard to try to make this film within this crazy tornado season that we were facing.
Yeah, like it just boggles the mind how many challenges that you must have faced on the production of this film. Now, the film doesn't dig too deeply into climate change being an impact on sort of the frequency of extreme weather events. Was there ever a feeling that maybe that's just too political for American audiences?
I wasn't too concerned about whether we would be political or not talking about climate change, but what I wanted to do was to talk to our scientists and to really ask them to let science lead the way. So if we need to talk about climate change within a scene, let's talk about it. That's kind of what I said to them. And what I found out was that, yes, there is climate change. Yes, climate change is affecting tornadoes, but unfortunately, we don't know what those effects are just yet. That's in the works right now. The priority is really to study what's going on with tornadoes, and then maybe we'd be able to piece together that connection. But certainly we're seeing more outbreaks this year, and there's been an expansion of where tornadoes are going in Tornado Alley. So a lot of people say you cannot say Tornado Alley anymore because now the geographical area in the U.S. is much broader, and they're happening at different times of the year that we did not expect them to happen. So there is some kind of link, but that's still in process. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. Lee, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Love your work, and I hope you enjoyed promoting this film.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And cut.